Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Behind the Curtain, presented by Markel. My name is Chelsea Sutton, and I am so excited to be here with Julie Lombardi. You go by Bob, yes, which is so fun, and I am truly honored to sit down with you today because so much of what we are experiencing here in Las Vegas at the Run for a Million is in part because of what you guys do at Truly Original. Before we get into that, you have an extensive background, and I am so impressed. For those that might not know you by name, they certainly know your works. You have done work on documentaries all the way to TV, Super Size Me, Real Housewives of Atlanta, and of course, The Last Cowboy, which is a big part of what we're doing here. Take our viewers through your background, 10,000-foot view, and then I would love to talk to you about what you do at Truly and how that plays into The Last Cowboy.
Sure. Right now, I am a SVP at Truly Original, and what I oversee is current and programming, which means stuff that's airing right now. So for that, I oversee the field and the post, and then I'm a creative liaison between the network and our company. And what got me there was when I started out in television and documentaries, I started as an editor, and I did a lot of editing through TV and documentaries. I did Super Size Me. I've done 4 other documentaries that have done really well. And then I did a lot of TVs and a lot of docu-follows. So when reality started, I'm aging myself, but we were unsure really in the beginning what we were doing. So we kind of just followed people around and we're like, how do we make it interesting? And then it kind of got more and more sculpted. But in the beginning, it was just editing. So it was really finding the story. And it was going through all of the footage and hearing what the producers wanted to get and thought they were getting, and then watching and being like, okay, well, this is what you got, and kind of weeding through that and making something cohesive that you could follow. And then I became a producer because, as you learn through editing, you're like, oh, wait, I have some changes, and the editing is kind of the last stop. So I'm like, oh, I should start, earlier. So I started producing, editing, writing, and eventually I became an executive producer for the post side. So I was the post EP, as we call it. And then from there, I became a VP at Truly Original.
That's so insightful, and for someone who doesn't come from that background, getting an understanding of all of those pieces and parts. When I watch TV as a consumer, you're not thinking about each of those, especially when it comes to reality TV or even documentaries, those types of things. Can you take our viewers through the relationship of, The Last Cowboy, an unscripted series, the way you guys think about that, work on that, and what it really takes to bring a show like that to life?
I mean, Last Cowboy is so unique, especially for our company, and I think for everyone that worked on it, because, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I don't think any of us really were into reining. So we were all very unfamiliar with the sport. So when Taylor, I wasn't around in this process, so this is all hearsay, right? But from my understanding is when Taylor decided he wanted to do a docu-follow and kind of have a show that exposes the sport and kind of like lets everybody see the horse, world. He looked at a couple different companies and he decided Truly Original was the way to go. And I think what our company does, which is what I really, really love about Truly Original, is they really just listen. We're really about listening to what is happening and finding the stories. So, as Taylor says, I want to showcase this reining sport. We, kind of dug in and we were like, okay, what is it? And you're looking at it and you're seeing it, and then you're kind of meeting the people behind the sport. And from that, I think it's really easy to figure out what the show is, because the stories kind of bubble up. If you sit long enough and you listen without prejudice, the stories bubble up. And from that, you can kind of put a show together. And through the years, it becomes, better and better and better, because the more we understand it, the more we understand the cast, the more we understand the riders, the reiners, the horses, really the world, the better we are at telling and showing the audience what's going on here.
I would love to hear from you. And I'm going to elaborate for a little bit, because my background traditionally in this industry is actually in arena. I'm typically an in-arena announcer. And so I've been announcing for 15 years, which also dates me, but that means that I was here for, pushing 10 years before the Last Cowboy came around. And so as an announcer, being at some of the major events, and I believe I was at the NRHA Derby, when I got the first contract from the production team saying that, we're filming for the show, you've got to sign on the dotted line and fundamentally sign away you guys' ability to take our image and likeness and all those things and do whatever you want with them, right? I'm summarizing a very well-written legal contract, but
fair
basically
enough.
That's what it is. And for someone who grew up in the sport, I love what we do as an industry. I love the relationship, the bond between horse and rider. I also know, because I have a professional career outside of this industry as well, that to the blind eye, not everyone understands it, nor understands the relationship of athlete to athlete, right? Human to horse, how we're using our horse in physical sport. I mean, it is very physical, it is very demanding. And so not only did I sort of shrink up a little bit, but there was much conversation in the industry about, does this team understand what horse sports are? We are saying okay to letting them follow us around. And I don't even think I had heard the term docu-follow, so that just clicks for me because that very much is what it is. That's what you guys have done for the last 5 years. But for me, I heard reality TV, right? And I heard Real Housewives, right? And throwing things and crazy drama, and that wasn't my persona. And I was worried that there would be stories created that didn't exist, right? Drama created that didn't exist. First of all, you guys haven't done that, which kudos. Because I think our industry is cool enough by itself, right? We didn't have to create those stories. Listening to you, and I think you just did an eloquent job of truly explaining what my original question was going to be to begin with. You find the stories, you're not creating them.
Well, look, we didn't show Real Housewives of Reigning because you guys don't have those, you don't have those tendencies. You guys aren't flipping tables and yelling at each other. So we're not showing that because that's not what's here. We are a very authentic company, and I think that's why on all of our shows and all the genres, because we do Real Housewives of Atlanta, we do Swamp People, we do Ink Masters, right? We have a huge, array of shows. But with all of them, we seek authenticity. That is what the audience wants. Like, without it, your show will sink, no matter what it is, even if it's a Real Housewives. If they're not authentically friends, and these aren't things that they're authentically doing and authentically care about, the audience will know something's off, and they're not interested, and it fails. So I think with you guys, to say that we didn't know anything about the sport is probably correct. We didn't know. But side note, Glenda Hirsch, who is the co-CEO of the company, I think she could be a judge at this point. She is so good at calling the scores. It's unbelievable. If somebody could film us in the back as she's watching and nixes, it's incredible.
Well,
anyway,
I know some people with cameras and audio equipment, so maybe we should do that. Right?
We should turn it on ourselves. I'm always off. Like, I always think I know, and then I'm like, I didn't see that. Anyway, she's very good. But I think the thing is, we're open to listening, we're open to hearing, and we're open to just becoming more aware and sitting with it. And also, we have a great person, Taylor Sheridan, above us that watches everything and says, like, okay, you got it right. This, not so much, let's tweak this. So I think we had a great leader in him to kind of show us the world. And then for us, I think, and every year our teams sometimes change on the ground. But I think all of us become interested in it. And for someone that lived in New York City, and I grew up on a farm, but not with horses. And I'm not a sporty person at all. But this is actually, when you're in it, you're just like, it is interesting. It is cool how these horses and the riders come together, and it's great how they make this team and how they work towards the goal and all the different approaches. And I really respect all the different approaches. And I think, honestly, so do the riders. So to be able to capture their different approaches and their stories for the entire season as they go from the Run for a Million shootout or the Cactus all the way to the Run for a Million, it's kind of amazing how different everybody approaches it. and what they go through internally and, externally with their horses and their teams to get there. And that's, I think, what we're really interested in and seeing it. But as someone, to go back to your original point of, you got this big laundry list of a contract and it seemed like we could do whatever. We're just not that company. We're not going to make you look crazy for entertainment purposes. We're really trying to show and expose the world so more people can get into this, because, I think anybody would love this if they spend enough time watching it and learning it. It's kind of easy to fall in love with the sport.
I certainly think so, hence why we're sitting here together, right?
Right.
Let's talk about that for a second, though, because we can't deny the fact that we live in a day and age where our attention spans are short, and we are very busy, and we are all consumed with social media and fast information, quick happenings. Our schedules are full. How do you guys prioritize creating something that does capture your attention and keep your attention while making sure that it stays authentic?
Well, I think for TV shows, we have a lot of tricks to do that. There's lots of ways to lay out a story that keep you wanting to know the next thing. There's a way of editing where it's like, this is a bad example, but it's like, I have a problem. Oh my God, I have an idea. I know how I can fix it. Cut, go to the next scene. And then the next scene is talking about something else. And you're like, wait, what? How did they fix that problem? And then you kind of go back to the scene. So it keeps people engaged and keeps people interested in the entire episode. But I think with like social media, what I said when I was doing documentaries, I've cut a lot of documentaries. And usually what I argue with the director about is they want all the information in the documentary. They have all of these facts and figures, and they want it all in the documentary because all of these facts and figures are so important, but it doesn't make it entertaining. And you want to just off yourself as you're watching all of these facts and figures is the most boring, crappiest thing to watch. It's just not fun. And I would always say to them, to make a good documentary, you want the people who don't want to watch it. I want people who don't know about reining to watch this show. I want people who don't love horses to watch this show. So to do that, you have to make it entertaining enough, just enough, so they actually go to social media and they do their, death scrolling with all the information that you've given them as they look up other facts, as they look up their favorite horses, as they look up their favorite reiners. You give them enough where they go to the other part of the world and the internet and social media, and they get all of their fixes from that. So I think there's a great way that you can utilize the other way. Like, we need social media needs us, So I think, for me, it's never an issue. I love the way that we've been able to come together.
We didn't necessarily plan for this, but, quick answer.
Sure.
If it's quick, maybe it's not. Do you think, I work in the marketing realm as well, and I've heard a lot of people say with the rise of social media, TV will eventually die.
I just don't believe that. I cannot imagine where you go to social media because you're interested in something. Well, how do you become interested in something? You become interested from TV. Like you watch something, you become exposed to something, and then you go to social media. And I think all of it, this is just my own nonsense. This is not truly original, but it's not a short answer. But I think, content is king. Mm-hmm. So whether you're watching a show about reining on your TV, through a streaming service, or on your phone, you're still watching content. It doesn't matter how it's packaged. You're still watching something that exposes you to something you can't find in your real life, or it's just, out of your touch. So I don't think that's going anywhere. Whether it's wrapped differently, whether you're putting on goggles and watching it on a fake screen or on a TV set or on your phone, that's, for the future to determine, and I'm here for it. But I don't think telling stories is going anywhere, and I think what it boils down to is telling good stories.
I appreciate that perspective, and agree, not that you're asking, but totally agree. And in this industry, the stories are so rich. You can't tell that in 10 seconds.
No.
You can't. Is there a unique element that this sport brings to documentary style, reality style television because there is a horse element? And is that an opportunity? Is that a challenge? How do you guys deal with that?
Well, there's plenty of challenges filming with animals, especially such powerful, big animals that not everyone is comfortable with. You got to learn to get comfortable real quick. But I think the amazing part of this is we get to tell amazing, beautiful stories about people and their journeys. And then they get on this powerful animal and we see the sport. It's like going behind the scenes at the NFL or every single Olympic package you can watch. Like you get their backstory, you get, it's smaller, but you get their backstory, you get their journey, and then you're able to see them perform. And I think that there's something so magical about that. And I think it makes great television because at the end of anybody's sentence, if you throw a horse going, a gazillion miles per hour and then stopping towards a fence, I mean, it's definitely the exclamation.
It absolutely is. I can't imagine how much you guys see because you don't just film at our live competition here. You are filming months before at the qualifying events. You are filming on location at ranches because you're capturing those stories, which first of all is very unique in our industry because we've never had something recurring that is a qualified event months later. The closest we come to that is we qualify on Monday, we show on Friday, right? We call them go-rounds. So the opportunity I think that Last Cowboy has created for our industry, and this is my sort of love letter to you guys, it's a big thank you because it has allowed, I think, all of us as an industry, not just the reiners, the cutters, the cow horses, because we're thinking about breeding and buying horses beyond just our reining circles. It's truly created an opportunity in our industry for us to realize how special those relationships are, not only human to horse, but trainer to trainer, owners to owners, barn managers to ranches, all of those things. And really look and talk about a bigger picture because that you're qualified for 6 months later or a year later. They might qualify this week for something that's happening next year. So this show that you guys have created and the opportunity that you've given us to really uncover and talk about those relationships, I think is something that has brought to light how special the culture of our industry is. And so that wouldn't have happened without The Last Cowboy in the format of the Run for a Million. So thank you guys for what you're doing. That being said, the last question I want to end on, of all the things that you've seen and dealt with, and I know you spend a lot of time in the editing room looking at the footage, favorite moment that you've had so far?
It's happened a couple times. It's when watching Mandy and Tom watch Cade, those are always beautiful moments. Watching Andrea watch Luca, those moments to me really strike because you see how the industry is like evolving and things are getting better and better and you see the changeover. But to see a parent watch their child do so well in a sport that they also love, it always triggers me every time. It's really beautiful. I'm watching like Craig and Addie, even though she's not a part of the Run for a Million yet.
Right, she's
but
coming.
I think there's something really magical about watching the parents watch, their kids perform. So that usually is very striking to me. And just honestly, the way that they all come together. I mean, all of these reiners are, all athletes want to win. They want the gold. But the way that they help each other and even the smallest moments is really beautiful to me because it's amazing. It's amazing that they can go in a circle and tell each other like, oh, hey, I think you should change this and it'll be better. Well, you're telling them how to win. You're giving them, So for me, that's always what kind of tugs at my heart when I watch it.
I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I know you guys are very busy here, and so I'm going to let you get back to it. For those of you guys tuning in, I appreciate you watching with us as we talk to Julia Lombardi. She goes by Bob. You guys probably won't see her because she stays behind the scenes, but we certainly appreciate the work that she's doing. Thank you for tuning in with us at Behind the Curtain, presented by Markel. We'll see you next time.